Giovanni Battista Piranesi left behind something far more unsettling than beautiful art. His engravings of ancient ruins are so precise that, even today, they resemble technical survey images rather than imaginative sketches. Every fractured stone, every shadow cast across marble, every surface texture feels measured, deliberate, and exact. And this is where the mystery begins. Piranesi lived in the 18th century, long before photography existed. There were no cameras, no drones, no laser scans. Only ink, copper plates, acid, and the human eye. Yet his work displays a level of accuracy that seems almost mechanical. This raises a troubling question. Was Piranesi simply an extraordinarily skilled artist, or was he documenting something far more literal? Ruins or records? Official art history groups Piranesi with other ruinists, artists said to have romanticized decay for dramatic effect. According to this view, his ruins were theatrical fantasies. Imaginary stage sets designed to evoke nostalgia for a fallen empire. But when researchers began comparing Piranesi's engravings with surviving structures in Rome, something unsettling emerged. The proportions match. The perspectives align perfectly. Minute architectural details correspond with what still exists today. Piranesi wasn't inventing ruins. He was recording them. Many of the structures he depicted still stand, weathered, altered, partially buried, but unmistakably real. His engravings function less like art and more like forensic documentation. A civilization that shouldn't exist. What's most disturbing is not how these buildings were drawn, but how they were built. We see massive stone blocks fitted together so precisely that even modern tools struggle to replicate the joints. Ornaments flow seamlessly across multiple stones without misalignment. Polished surfaces reflect a level of material control that contradicts the idea of primitive hand tools and unskilled labor. Doorways tower far above human height. Staircases and platforms appear designed for beings much larger than the people wandering through the ruins. In the engravings, figures dressed in rags move through these colossal spaces like squatters, inhabitants of ruins they clearly did not build. These people look like survivors, not heirs. The problem of destruction. History tells us these cities were destroyed by barbarians. But the damage tells a different story. Granite columns split cleanly. Multi-ton blocks scattered as if tossed aside. Vaults collapsed in ways that cannot be explained by fires, looting, or hand tools. This looks less like vandalism and more like the aftermath of an immense force. Something powerful enough to fracture stone on a massive scale. And yet, even that force failed to erase everything. Buried cities. One of the most consistent details across Piranesi's engravings is impossible to ignore. The ground level is wrong. Windows are half buried. Doorways sink into earth. Entire lower floors vanish beneath soil. This isn't gradual buildup from trash and debris. It's meters of sediment, thick, heavy earth that swallowed cities whole. Modern excavations confirm it. Rome's current streets sit far above their original levels. What we walk on today is not the ancient ground, it's what came after. This suggests a sudden, catastrophic event, one that reshaped the landscape itself. Not artists, witnesses. When viewed this way, Piranesi and his contemporaries were not romantic dreamers. They were chroniclers of a post-catastrophe world. They recorded cities already ruined, buried, and repurposed by people who no longer understood them. Temples became shelters. Statues became laundry racks. Ancient halls turned into animal pens. This was not cultural continuity. It was survival among the ruins of something lost. The truth behind the photographic detail. The realism in Piranesi's work doesn't come from lost cameras or mystical devices. It comes from chemistry. He mastered etching, an unforgiving process where images are carved into copper using acid. Every line was scratched through varnish by hand, then chemically eaten into metal. Shadows required repeated acid baths. Mistakes were permanent. Through layered etching, Piranesi created depth, volume, and atmosphere unmatched by simple drawing. His ruins feel heavy because the process itself was physical. Stone became texture. Light became chemistry. This wasn't imagination. It was reconstruction through physics. Architecture as power. Piranesi's images didn't stay confined to art books. They reshaped empires. Napoleon studied them obsessively. European monarchs saw in them a visual blueprint for eternal power. Catherine the Great absorbed their aesthetic into the very bones of St. Petersburg. Bridges, ironwork, facades, city layouts, many mirror elements lifted directly from Piranesi's engravings. He never visited Russia. Yet he helped design its imperial image. Ideas etched into copper became cities carved in stone. The structure that shouldn't exist. Among all the ruins Piranesi documented, one appears again and again. Castel Sant'Angelo. Officially, it's a Roman mausoleum built in the 2nd century AD. But its foundation tells a different story. Massive travertine blocks, polygonal, mortarless, perfectly fitted, form a base that resembles the most ancient megalithic structures on Earth. Some blocks weigh tens, possibly hundreds of tons. The internal engineering suggests advanced lifting mechanisms, deep understanding of load distribution, and construction margins far beyond necessity. This structure survived Rome's fall, countless sieges, earthquakes, and centuries of modification. It was not merely built, it was overbuilt. What was Piranesi really doing? Piranesi was not imagining the past. He was preserving evidence. Every crack he etched, every buried floor he revealed, every impossible stone joint he recorded was a message. One aimed at the future. "I make the stones speak," he once said. And when they speak, they tell a story very different from what we're taught. A story not of steady progress, but of cycles. Of civilizations that rise to extraordinary heights, then vanish. Of knowledge lost, buried, and misunderstood. Final thought. To dismiss these engravings as fantasy is to ignore uncomfortable details. The buried cities. The impossible masonry. The mismatch between builders and inhabitants. Piranesi challenges us to do what real researchers must: look closely, question authority, and notice what doesn't fit. These are not just artworks. They are keys. And the stones are still speaking.